You ready? Mm-hmm. All right, let's go. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage Ignite podcast with Mike and Janelle Friedrich, where we talk about all things marriage, family, and faith. And we just want to say thank you for joining us again for another episode. And first of all, I just want to say thank you from both of us, that it really means the world to us that you're listening in, because it takes trust for you. And so we honor the fact that you're allowing us to speak into your marriage and in your life, and we don't take that lightly. So thank you for tuning in. And if you're finding this of value, give us a 5-star rating and share it with someone in your life that you know may need to hear this message. And so we're going to jump into, this is going to be part 2 of forgiveness. And last week we interviewed one of our clients, Erica, and the week before that we did part 1 of forgiveness. So you may need to go back and re-listen to that episode, but we're going to complete this topic on forgiveness. And so when we did talk about part 1, what we started out with saying is that we need to become master forgivers. And without this critical principle, nothing in your life will work. And because if we don't, it's a stop to all of our growth. And while it might be one of the most difficult things, we know this, it's one of the most difficult principles to walk out in life, it quickly becomes one of the easiest ones to master once we start doing it. And so what I want to really encourage if you're dealing with trying to learn and how to forgive someone, because you're like, I know I'm supposed to, I don't know how to do it. We're gonna dive into that, but we need to be able to learn how to do this. And we need to become master forgivers. And the reason we can become master forgivers is because Jesus forgave us. And so we must be willing to forgive. Jesus never said this is going to be easy, because this is a true act of faith. This is one of the biggest acts of faith that we can do. And forgiveness is a command. It's not a feeling. And the moment you decide to forgive, that's the beginning of forgiveness. And marriage is one of the best training grounds for learning how to forgive, right? And I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, but we talked, I think we mentioned this, Erica Kirk, when she was giving the eulogy of her husband, when she forgave the guy that shot her husband. I mean, I was watching that and I just broke. And I think a huge part of the country, when they were watching that, they got convicted in a good way. And so we're gonna continue to talk about forgiveness, but why don't you share, you had something that was really important that you wanted to share from something you read.
Well, and also real quick, last week or a couple weeks ago when we interviewed Erica Howard, which is one of our clients, she actually now works for us. I mean, they had dysfunction for 17 years. And there was a lot of work that needed to be done with forgiveness. And everybody told her to leave. Mm-hmm. Everybody told her, you need to move on. It's time. Like, this isn't going to work. This has been dysfunction for way too long. He had an affair. I mean, she was controlling. I mean, just all the stuff. And I just look at that beautiful story, and what if she would have listened to all those people?
Yeah.
Number one. Mm-hmm. But number 2, she had to walk through forgiveness. He had to walk through forgiving her too, because there was so much dysfunction on her side. But then they actually had to build trust back. Mm-hmm. And forgiveness is completely different than building back trust.
That's a good one. Yeah. Because let's camp just for a second here on this one, because sometimes we hear this, well, do I need to just keep forgiving him? Yes, if you're a wife and something your husband has done, and this is on the other side of it too, if your wife has done something. But again, that doesn't mean that trust is earned back just like that, just because you say that I forgive you. Sometimes there are some boundaries that need to be implemented, healthy boundaries, and that's another conversation. But again, forgiveness and trust are 2 completely different topics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And trust, I'll just say this one more thing, because again, we want to stay on the topic of forgiveness, but trust is built back minute by minute, day by day, drop by drop. It can be lost in buckets. Mm-hmm. It can be lost quickly. And so just know that forgiveness is the beginning. Forgiveness allows freedom, literally freedom.
It's the gateway.
Yeah. So, and then there's got to be trust that's built back. Now, I read one of the most incredible books on forgiveness by Rodney Hogue. And in this book, I want to read a paragraph that literally he says it so well about forgiveness. And so let me read it. I'm going to read it directly from the book because it's so powerful that I want to read it word for word. The spiritual climate over people changes when we forgive. The unseen world is altered whenever we do something that is in agreement with heaven. Angels are activated, demons become bound, and there is a shift in the atmosphere that is not always seen by the naked eye. Jesus said that we are given keys that bind and loose so that the gates of hell will not prevail. Our activities will release what has been bound and bind what needs to be released. Nothing seems to do this more than forgiveness. Healing is released in the body. Division among people becomes mended, and heaven's favor is restored. The atmosphere around your life has changed, and the shift can be felt by those around you. There will be something inviting about you that others just can't put their fingers on, but they will know that something is different. So the shift, so think about this, that there's a shift that happens within you when you forgive, and it changes the atmosphere around you. Right. People just want to be around you. It's felt. There's something different. There's something inviting about you because you're living from this place of forgiveness and you're living from a pure heart. And again, there's other things that you need to do to have a pure heart, but forgiveness is a huge one, because if we are going to sit in anger, if we're going to sit in bitterness, if we're going to be resentful and just be mad all the time and angry all the time, no one wants to be around you. People can feel it.
Yep.
And so people can feel when you actually forgive.
Yeah, because there's an edge. You can feel there's a little bit of a bite to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're irritated. You're annoyed. I mean, there's so many things that come along with unforgiveness, and we do not want to have a hardened heart.
And I want to let some of you off the hook just for the sake of saying this. When you begin this process of forgiveness, you're not going to feel like doing it. You might.
Especially if you've been hurt really bad, or lots of betrayal or infidelity, or it's really hard.
I mean, maybe there's someone out there that has felt like they wanted to do it, but I don't know that I've met that person. Maybe I'm being oversimplistic about this. But my point is that, again, your actions need to go before your feelings. Meaning you have to just start by faith. We mentioned this in the beginning, by faith. God, I don't want to forgive this person, but I know that I'm called to do this. And I know that if I start this process, my feelings are going to follow later. This is that faith that I'm talking about.
Well, in that paragraph that I just read, it says heaven's favor is restored.
I want that.
So don't you want heaven's favor? Don't you want blessings from God all the time? Well, then we must forgive. If we want our mountains to move, our big mountains that are in front of us to move, and we want our prayers to be answered, we must forgive. And so what we want to do today, let's do this. I want to move into forgiving yourself and forgiving God.
So point one is forgiving yourself.
Well,
the second one is forgiving God.
Yeah. And I want to touch on this one, because sometimes it's like, okay, we've got to forgive our spouse. We've got to forgive our parents. We've got to forgive people who hurt us. But I talk to so many women that they need to forgive themselves. And you talk to a lot of men. And then we need to forgive God. And these aren't easy. It's not easy to forgive yourself. And many wives, they will carry shame and regret, maybe for what they said, maybe for how they reacted, or what they tolerated. They think, if I would have done things differently, maybe my marriage wouldn't be where it is. maybe I married the wrong person because I let it go this far. I mean, all these things we begin to think, and then we begin to stew over, and then it causes lots of torment. And when we don't, or let me say it this way, when we have unforgiveness towards ourselves, it keeps you chained to your past. You're unable to receive God's grace in the present. So self-forgiveness isn't saying I did nothing wrong. It's saying I accept God's forgiveness and I'm no longer agreeing with condemnation.
Yeah.
That is so good. And so it reminds me of that scripture in Romans 8:1. There is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus.
And I think we've all heard that one a lot.
Yeah.
But hearing it and actually feeling that are two different things. Correct?
Yeah. He doesn't want you living in condemnation. He wants you to live in freedom. And so it's important that we have to forgive ourselves. And maybe you are the ones that committed infidelity, or you're the one who, I don't know, but again, we've got to walk through that forgiving, that forgiveness and forgiving ourselves. It's so important. And so Psalms 103:12 also says, as far as the east is from the west, so far has he removed our transgressions from us. Let me give you another one. Philippians 3:13 and 14. Forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal. And so those are some scriptures that you can anchor in if this is you. I love getting in the Word, and we really want our listeners to get in the Word. We want you to delight in being in the Word and delight in spending time with God. And often it's important that we actually go to these scriptures and we read them, and we can read all the different translations, and we can get in the Word, and we can do cross-referencing, and we can study the words and stuff like that. And so I want to encourage you that if you're really struggling with forgiving yourself, grab those scriptures that I just gave you, or you can Google scriptures on forgiving yourself, and you can go and look those up.
Yeah, well, I'll speak from a little bit of experience on this one because I'm going to share some vulnerability, but even saying the word vulnerability for guys isn't natural. We don't like saying or feeling like we're vulnerable because it feels like weak sauce. I mean, we'll say, I would like to say I'm tender, but I don't want to say that I'm vulnerable. But the reality is there is no intimacy without vulnerability. So maybe we can use a different word, tender, but part of our story, some of you know this, but I held a really deep, dark secret in for years and years. And early on in our marriage, I committed infidelity and a one-night stand. And it was before I was saved. It was before I went on this journey of really understanding who I was. And I started going on this journey after that, and I started wanting to just bury it and forget it because I felt like I couldn't even relate to that old person. We were partying, there was alcohol, and I'm not blaming any of this on the drugs or the alcohol, but that's just where we were at in life. And thank God I got around some strong men in my life, which this is a whole another thing, is that I got to see how men carried themselves in tenderness and in vulnerability. And there, after a point in time, I realized I had to deal with it. Guys don't like dealing with sensitive things, like
or
in
secrets
general.
Or
yeah, I mean, wives,
or vulnerability or emotions or feelings.
Feelings. Oh, there we go. The feelings word. Oh, and wives, you probably already know this. Husbands, it doesn't come naturally for most guys. So what we do is we want to bury it and move on. I'm like, I'm over it. Like, why do we got to keep going back there? But if we don't allow ourselves the time to process that, we're never going to get past it because it's going to manifest itself later in something else. And so if you're a wife listening to this and you're like, how do I get my husband to process his emotions? Number one, be patient with him. But also number two, get him around other strong men. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. But the other thing too is model it for him, give him a safe place to be able to be himself. And we were talking about this a little while ago, but when you start needling your husband and start pressuring him to share what he doesn't want to share, he's going to clench up even more and he's going to shut down even more. And if you're a guy listening to this, I want to give you one of the most manly things that you can do is to really deal with the things that maybe you've never dealt with emotionally, because God's not afraid of it. He's not ashamed of you. He's seen it all before. Trust me, he's not weirded out by any of the stuff that you may feel shame for. When you have your marriage, and now we're at this place, we've been in this place for a long time, but when there's just no secrets, it's just a beautiful place. And in marriage, we say this all the time, there should be no secrets, but that can't happen unless you're willing to forgive yourself and also forgive your spouse if your spouse is the one that offended you.
Yeah. Well, and you just brought up a really good point about the men being vulnerable or being, open and sharing their feelings and stuff like that. And again, this is where the wife has to give the place for the husband to actually do that and not try to fix him, not try to correct, give opinions, all of that. So it's giving each other that safe place to do that.
Right.
And again, I believe men will open up more if that was the case.
For sure.
They would open up way more if they felt safe.
Right.
But often it's used against them. And then this can happen with the wife too. So this can go both ways, but we see that happen a lot.
But it's usually the husband, because the husband's usually not the one that's normally going to just share their feelings. And if they do, and they get cross-checked by it, they ain't going back there again.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and when we got on our healing journey, when you finally confessed the infidelity, we had to walk through this healing journey. So I had to, because we loved Jesus when he confessed. We were doing marriage ministry when he confessed. And I had to walk through not only forgiving you, but there was also this deep sadness of, wow, he held that in for that many years. And it was tormenting him. He was having heart palpitations. He thought he was drinking too much caffeine. The moment he confessed to me, the health issues went away. The heart palpitations. Literally, he was having so many health issues, and it was because of this secret that he was holding in. And I felt so sad that I was like, wow, we weren't in a place where he could like share that. Well, he did, and the secret came out, and I had to walk through forgiving himself. I had to walk through forgiving you. I mean, you had to walk through forgiving yourself. I had to walk through in a way forgiving myself. But I remember having this moment where I'm laying up, we were sitting on the bed, and when he confessed and he told me, and as he was telling me, tears started to roll down my face, and I heard the Holy Spirit say, there was the block to your blessing. And so I knew right away, I was like, blessings are coming. Like we were already being blessed, but I'm talking about an overflow of blessings where we can't control all the blessings. There's so many of them. And so I just looked at Mike and I said, I forgive you. I love you. And I forgive you. But here's what we had to do is I had to tell Mike, this is so key if you're dealing with infidelity or whatever, you need help. Number one, you need to get professional help. You need people to walk alongside you. It's a journey. It can take time. But I did tell Mike, I'm never going to use this against you. Like, I'm not. This isn't something that I'm going to use against you. I'm forgiving you. And I said, but you need to give me space. I need to be able to have times where I'm going to have bad days. And so what we did is I had a code word where when I was having a bad day, and he could sense it and I was off, I just looked right at him and I said, babe, I'm having one of those days. And he knew right away because I would look at a photo of us or something would trigger me. And instead of me bringing it back up and this big, huge fight, and here we go, like ripping off the Band-Aid, and I would just look at him, and there were times where there was times where I just needed to talk. There were times where I just wanted him to hug me, but he knew what to do when I said, baby, I'm off. Today's one of those days. I'm off today. He would just come up and wrap his arms around me, and he'd be like, baby, we're going to get through this. I love you. Is there anything that you want to talk about? And he was so kind and he was so loving and he helped me heal. because I knew that he couldn't heal me. I knew Jesus was the only one that could heal me, but he could help. But I had to do it with love because he was already dealing with the guilt and the shame and the regret and all of that. Now he felt better because the secret wasn't there anymore. But also we had to begin to walk this journey together of building back trust. And
I felt a tiny bit better from that standpoint, but then I was dealing with the reality of like, now she's in pain.
Yes.
And so anyway, that time was really hard. And I want to give whoever, if you're the offender, because this can go either way. If you're the offender, I want to encourage you, have patience. This isn't going to be an overnight process. You're smart enough to know that this isn't going to be a 3-week process, but it shouldn't take 30 years. Now, how long should it take? However long it's going to take. But I knew that your point is so good about I couldn't heal you, only God could, but I could help in that. And that was making sure that I never said things like, can you just get through this or past it? Can we just move on? No, that's not acceptable. Like that is totally unacceptable. That was my job now, is to make sure that I was doing everything that I could to make sure that I was earning back the trust. And then I was there for her. And then I wasn't trying to microwave this process because it can't be microwaved.
Or sweep it under the rug.
Right.
But I wasn't going to use it against you.
Right.
Ever again. And so this is a really incredible topic. It's so good. But I want to go back real quick to forgiving yourself. Is you can't walk in healing when you're still punishing yourself for a past version of you that God already forgave. Self-condemnation is often disguised pride.
Wow.
It's believing your sin is greater than his mercy.
Oh, wow.
Where true humility is receiving his forgiveness fully and letting that mercy change you.
Wow. So I mean.
That was meaty what I just said. Because condemnation is disguised in pride.
Well, and some of you may have come from a denominational background where there was heavy on the guilt, and that's where I came from. And so it was like, this is your cross to bear now, and then you just have to carry that guilt, which there's no theological basis for that. You know what I mean? But somehow that wove itself into what I just kind of like believed growing up until we got later and we kind of spiritually did the spiritual unwinding there, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Should we jump into number 2?
Yes, let's jump into number 2.
Okay.
Forgiving God. And this one is a tender one. We know God doesn't sin. He doesn't need forgiveness. But many of us hold offense toward him in our hearts. We trusted him for a miracle and it didn't happen how we thought. We prayed for restoration and it took longer than expected. Tell him how you feel. Get on your face in your prayer closet or wherever you pray, in your car, anywhere, and be honest with him. And it's interesting that we were doing this podcast today because we got 2 emails literally. One was just from a random email from a gal, and then one was from a client and how upset they are at God. And this is real and it's okay. Tell him how you feel, because once you are honest with him and tell him how you feel, he now has something to work with. And so you can lament to him. And so I want to talk about, just real quick, lamenting versus complaining. There is a big difference between lamenting and complaining. A complaint has to do with expressing displeasure in someone or something. A lament or lamenting is prayer to God, releasing an emotion of mourning that is heard beyond human ears. A complaint comes from a place of pride, while a prayer of lament comes from a place of humility.
Okay, so pride is like, this shouldn't be happening to me. I don't deserve this.
Why is this happening?
Yeah, why does this always happen to me? Why am I always put on the back burner? Or things like that, right? I mean, they all maybe...
Or why is God not listening to my prayers? And instead of going to him in humility.
Yeah, and
really
he already
lamenting.
knows what you're thinking anyway. So another more powerful way to say that is like, God, I'm afraid you won't come through. I'm afraid that sometimes you're not listening, and I know that's not you, but that's how I'm feeling right now, and I'm sorry I'm feeling this way. God, forgive me.
Yeah.
That's a totally different expression and a totally different way of communicating with the God of the universe that absolutely loves you, that absolutely sees the end from the beginning to the end. He sees the whole picture. What we get to see is like this.
Little tiny.
And if you're not seeing the video here, I'm just holding up my finger like a little tiny hole. We don't get to see hardly anything. He gets to see the whole thing. And sometimes I think when we get to heaven, we're going to be more glad for the prayers that God didn't answer than the ones he did.
Yeah.
And so take that with a grain of salt. Okay. But
Yeah. We're going to be like, oh, now I know why that happened and why that
exactly.
happened and why that happened.
So, you know what I mean by that. So nothing's black and white when I say that, but you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah. And so what happens is when we hold unforgiveness towards God, it turns into disappointment. I mean, it turns into anger, all these things, and then it turns into distance. And so forgiving God isn't saying he is wrong. It's releasing our need to understand and choosing to trust his heart when we don't understand his hand.
Wow. Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, boy.
Because we don't always understand what he's doing or why we're walking through a storm or why we're walking through this season. And we have to trust his heart. We have to trust that what he has for us is the best. We have to trust his timing. Mm-hmm. There's so much here with this one too on forgiving God.
We had a lot of practice on this one several years ago when we lost a business and then we lost another business and had to sell our home. And we literally had to hit the reset button in life. And that was probably one of the hardest times that we've ever gone through. But I knew in that moment, you did too. So I'm not saying it was just me, but we had to trust God because we knew there was a better plan in place that he had. And that's a big reason why we're doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And now we have an international ministry where we're global. We have clients literally all over the world that we would have never been impacting had we still been in doing what we were doing before.
Yeah.
And what we were doing before was making a difference. But this, to me, and I know to you too, I feel like we're making a bigger impact than we've ever made in our life. But we didn't know that when we were going through that hell, I'll call it, because we didn't know what was going to happen. We just had our third child that was born. And it was scary for me as a provider, as a dad. Mm-hmm. You were handling it better than me, I'll say. Me, I was freaking out. I was freaking out internally, and it was a hard moment. But again, goes back to trusting he's seeing the big picture.
Yes.
And that's not easy to do.
Yes. So let me give you a couple scriptures to anchor in. Isaiah 55, 8 and 9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Another one is John 11, 21 and 23 to 23. When Martha said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would have not died. Jesus didn't rebuke her pain. He revealed resurrection hope. And so you'll have to go look those up, okay, because they're so good. But sometimes the healing begins when we admit, God, I'm hurt. I thought you would come through differently. He can handle your honesty. It's not rebellion. It's relationship. The moment that you bring him your disappointment, he meets you with compassion and begins rewriting your perspective with truth. So forgiveness opens the flow of intimacy with God again. Unforgiveness towards yourself or towards him blocks the very presence your heart longs for. When you forgive, you're not erasing pain. You're letting the blood of Jesus redefine it.
Say that again. That is so darn good.
When you forgive, you're not erasing pain. You're letting the blood of Jesus redefine it.
Wow. Okay.
So you need to, I just want you to place your hand on your heart for a second, and then we're going to close up. But I just want you to place your hand on your heart again. And if you have any unforgiveness towards yourself, I just want you to release it. But I want you to say it out loud. I want you to say, I forgive myself. And Jesus, I am here and I'm open and I'm ready. and I forgive myself. And if you need to list those things that you forgive yourself for, but release it. Forgive yourself. You are worthy. You are enough. You are loved. And he loves you. He's a God that loves, and he created you in his image, and he loves you, and he wants you to forgive yourself. But also, if you are holding any forgiveness or unforgiveness towards God, I want you to, maybe when we're done here, just take time and release it. Like if you've got to yell and scream, if you've got to fist, take your fists and pound it on the ground in your prayer closet, like just let him know. Lament. Let him know how you feel. Get it all out. Cry. Cry a lot if you need to. Seriously, crying and weeping is warfare. So I just again want you to forgive yourself and forgive God if there's anything there. And then also if there's anything there with your spouse or anyone around you and you're just like, okay, I need to forgive again. Yes, you need to forgive again. You might have to forgive 20 times today. You might have to forgive 50 times today. Every day is going to be different. But how you know, and I mentioned this in the last part 1 of forgiveness, but how you know that you've forgiven is it is just a past event. It's part of your story. It's part of your testimony. It's where it doesn't trigger you anymore. You can see the person and you don't get all bound up and riled up inside. That's how you know that you've truly forgiven, is that it is just an event. And so again, forgiveness takes time. Forgiveness is an act of faith. And so we're just so excited for you to forgive, because we know when you forgive, there is freedom and there is favor and there is blessings.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
So
Amen.
good.
All right. So we're going to close it up.
Yep.
2 things. Number 1, if you feel like you need support, we have Janelle's mentorship pathway, which is the Wise Wives. I work with husbands called Husbands of Valor. We'll put the links in the show notes, as well as courses that we have as well that you can check out. So thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for being here. We're grateful. Thank you for allowing us to speak into your life and in your marriage. And we appreciate you. God bless you. And we'll hopefully see you next week.
And you are a master forgiver.
And if you're seeing our shirts, God is so good. He
Yes.
is so good.
He is all the time.